Hello everybody, welcome back to an episode of Red Dead Redemption Character Analysis. Back here, I guess it hasn't been too long since the last episode, but we're wrapping this up very soon. Of course we have Agent Milton today, of course obviously as you can see as the title, because he's, pretty important character. I'll get into that a little bit later, but of course, we have him today. Then there's maybe one or two other characters I want to do in Red Dead 2, and then that'll pretty much wrap it up for our Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 character analysis. I know it's been a long time, but again, as I say, there's just a lot of characters I'd like to cover between both games. I wanted to cover it and do it justice, just because it's one of my two favorite games of all time, of course, Red Dead 1 and 2. So I just want to do it justice, of course, and do this character analysis the right way. And of course, cover all the characters, I would like to. And, but, at this point, not too much left. And yeah, we're just going to get right into it. So then we'll be moving on to our next game. Might be a little bit of a break, but I might trying to plan out the next game for our next round of character analysis. But yeah, we're going to be getting right into it here. Of course, getting this info off the Red Dead Wiki. Of course, Agent Milton, very important character. Of course, he drives most of the, at least before the epilogue, he drives most of the Pinkerton detective agency. Of course, he drives them mostly to, to hunt down Dutch's gang and whatnot. So he's a pretty important character in the before the epilogue, of course. So we're going to get right into it. Of course, background, Milton is a high-ranked detective in Pinkerton National Detective Agency, as I was saying. After Dutch robs his train, Leviticus Cornwall hires Milton as his protege, Agent Edgar Ross, to track down the Vanderlyn gang and to bring Dutch Vanderlyn to justice. Of course, I covered Agent Ross for the first game. Of course, I'll cover the other main agent in Red Dead 2 as Agent Milton. So that's just another thing I wanted to add. I wanted to cover both agents and kind of both games, the government entity part of it. So I figured that would be good to do as did it in Red Dead 1. Then of course Agent Milton in Red Dead 2, as Agent Ross is kind of his understudy there, a younger Agent Ross, I should say. I just wanted to add that in there. In the events of Red Dead Redemption 2, Horseshoe Overlook chapter, Milton and Ross approach Arthur Morgan whilst he teaches Jack Marston fishing. At a river near Horseshoe Overlook, Milton offers Arthur a chance to surrender and turn Dutch in exchange for an amnesty. When Arthur refuses, Milton reveals that he captured Matt Callender after the Blackwater Ferry robbery and killed him slowly. Enraging Arthur, he then proceeds to leave with Ross. And then in Clemens Point chapter, the gameplay you guys see before you, Milton and Ross approach Dutch and his gang at their camp in Clemens Point. Milton offers Dutch a chance to surrender in exchange for other gang members being allowed to escape. Dutch mockingly feigns his compliance and the gang all begin to draw their weapons. Flustered, Milton warns Dutch that he will be back with 50 men and that the gang should leave quickly. In the Saint Denis chapter, during the bank robbery in Saint Denis, Milton captures Jose Matthews while he orchestrates a distraction and holds him hostage outside the Lemoyne National Bank, which the Pinkertons have surrounded. Milton states that any reservations have been making deals have been exhausted and subsequently shoots Jose in the chest, killing him almost instantly. A skirmish ensues, but the Vanderlyn gang eventually manages to escape. During the Guarma chapter, Milton and his agents pick up Micah Bell after he, Dutch, Arthur, Bill, and Javier return from Guarma. Micah becomes an informant for the agency. Subsequently, a large group of Pinkertons led by Milton attack the gang's hideout in the Cay, who orders a house that the gang has sought the refuge in to be riddled by a Maxim gun. Despite Milton's best efforts, the gang manages to repel the attack. Then they eventually flee to Beaver Hollow, of course, after that. Along with Ross, Milton meets with Leviticus Cornwall in Annesburg. Cornwall scolds him for his lack of progress and threatens to withdraw his funding. Of course, that's a thing, Cornwall's been funding the Pinkertons, going after Dutch and whatnot. Of course, they're robbing him. Then Milton insists that the Pinkertons are very close, but Cornwall is dismissive. Milton then leaves with Ross shortly before Dutch confronts Cornwall. Of course, he shoots him, how the mission goes. While the Vanderlyn gang are robbing a train, Milton captures Abigail and holds her hostage at the Van Horn trading post, prompting Arthur and Sadie Adler to rescue her. However, Sadie gets captured by Milton, and Arthur is forced to confront the Pinkerton agent himself. Milton sneaks up behind Arthur and holds him at gunpoint. He then reveals that Micah had betrayed the gang, feeding the Pinkertons with information ever since he and the gang came back from Guarma. In response, Arthur grabs Milton's gun, but is quickly overpowered due to his tuberculosis, with Milton pointing his gun at Arthur's head. Before Milton can pull the trigger, Abigail manages to break free of her confinements and shoots Milton in the temple using Sadie's revolver, killing him instantly and saving Arthur. Now, despite Milton's death, the Pinkertons, now led by Avery Ross, of course, kind of in the, as we went over in the first Red Dead, continue their hunt for the remainder of the Vanderlyn gang. 12 years later, Ross, who becomes the chief of the Bureau of Investigation, or BOI, eventually succeeds in destroying the remnants of the gang, including Dutch, Javier, Bill, and John Marston, whom he uses to kill the former three. And of course, Ross hunts down and kills John Marston at the end of the first game. That's how that ended. And that's more or less the end of Agent Milton's character, you know, I guess analysis, but also the character on the Red Dead Wiki. I'm going to be going over some extra stuff here on the wiki that it has, of course, going over some quotes. Of course, going into his appearance a little bit, that's pretty interesting. Milton is a lean man with a pockmarked, clean-shaven face. His dark brown hair is kept closely shaved at the sides of neatly slicked back on top. His modern haircut likely reflects his affinity for progress. He dresses smartly and neatly, consistent with the other Pinkerton agents, donning a dark gray lounge coat with black lapels, to which he pins his badge along with a crisp white shirt and a navy silk tie, pinstriped red waistcoat and black slacks, and the black bowler hat with deep red silk band, as well as, of course, black leather gloves, polished black leather shoes, and a black leather gun belt. Just a little bit of extra stuff here on the wiki, and there's some good quotes I would like to read here. Who made you the Messiah to these lost souls? Milton the Dutch, the line Arthur remembers from Milton during A Fork in the Road if the honor's low. Of course, this is Agent Milton with the Pinkerton Detective Agency on behalf of Cornwall, Kerosene, and Tar, the United States government, and the Commonwealth of West Elizabeth. We are here to arrest you. Come out with your hands up, and that's Milton to the gang in the Lakay raid. You're losing your strength, Mr. Morgan. Of course, that was Milton's last words here, and I get.
Losing your strength, Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, that was just a clip that they had on the wiki. I figured I'd play it. Why not? That was the clip of that, Milton's last words. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Agent Milton. I know it was one of the shorter character analysis, but I thought he was such an important character to do and cover just because of his. He had a huge part in the Red Dead 2, the main story, of course. It's such a huge part in it, hunting down Dutch and fighting Arthur. He was just such a huge antagonist within the story, so I think it was very important to cover here, especially as we wrap up the Red Dead character analysis round. So I thought it was pretty important to cover. And again, I know it wasn't the longest article or whatnot, but again, very, very important. Yeah, so I mean, I personally, my thoughts on Agent Milton, of course, he's, of course, not too big of a fan of him, but I think they did him really well. I think they made his villain arc very well. I think they constructed him very well as a villain, and I think they did a good job on him that aspect. Of course, he doesn't get a lot of screen time. I mean, here and there, one-off missions, but he's always present. His agency, the Pinkerton agency, they're always present. They're always the reason why Dutch and the gang have to be on the move. So while he doesn't get a lot of screen time, of course, the Pinkertons and Milton as a whole, they're always there. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense. But they're always around, and the reason why Dutch has to keep on the move and whatnot. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, that'll pretty much wrap it up for today's video. Of course, make sure to subscribe for more content. Like if you all good stuff, Discord, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, links in the description. Of course, comments are always open. Let me know what you think of Agent Milton, how you think they did him as a villain and whatnot. And, do you like him, dislike him, whatever it is it may be. I imagine a lot of people would dislike him, especially because he killed Hosea. And of course, general feedback, comments, and whatnot. And yeah, we'll be wrapping up character analysis pretty soon. Hopefully within the next coming weeks. Just a couple more characters I want to do, and we'll be wrapping it up here. So, but for now, I will see you guys in the next video.